There are a ton of things that I've learned over the years when it comes to having a successful racing career. I'm not a race car driver myself, but I work with them pretty much every day. And while I tell you that, we're gonna take this and turn it into this. And it did not go as planned. Cool. Later, but I think you guys got us in there. So right off the bat, while I show you this absolute unit of a G that I picked up for dirt cheap, let's start off with delegating. As I did, I actually got my son to take a bunch of this stuff off. Good race car drivers, good business professionals in general, learn how to delegate. They take tasks that they realize they're not amazing at, and they start to give it to other people. So they may not actually be a great mechanic, so they hand that off to great mechanics. They may not be a really good crew chief, so they hand that off to really good crew chiefs. So that is probably the biggest thing that I've learned is the ones that are really successful, they stop doing everything themselves, and they start handing it off to people who know what the hell they're doing. I hate sanding, I really do. Next thing on that list, drivers, pro drivers, good drivers, Jesus, they practice like they drive. They have cars that are very similar. Take Matt Field, for example, you know, he's got another Corvette. I know, it's you can't always get another one, but regardless, even when they're practicing in whatever car, they're chasing a lot. They're working on the things that they need to work on. Whether that car is the perfect car for it or not, that is what they're doing. They practice like they compete. That is something that I don't always see. I see a lot of party driving. I see a lot of like, you know, oh, I'm just gonna go do, you know, de-stress bang with my friend. I get that. I get that you wanna drive for fun. But ultimately, if you wanna make it pro, you wanna make it big, you have to practice like you're gonna compete. So, you know, get a car that's similar, lower horsepower, don't turn it into an FD build. I don't know, even just run the sim in the same way. So just, yeah, do that. Oh, yeah. Right, that makes sense. I really suck at it. Turns out, I'm getting a lot more supplies than I thought. That includes primer. I thought I could just kind of sand it down, and then talking to people who knew more than I do, they're like, hey, you should probably prime some of these things, so I'll have to get some primer. But that brings me to my next point, and those drivers that do really, really well, one of the things that they do well is they don't sweat the little stuff. So, you know, situations like not having enough primer. But honestly, they don't sweat the little stuff. They don't freak out when something breaks. They don't get upset when things aren't going perfect in a battle or something along those lines. They just keep their heads together. Now, they might still have some meltdowns or have some feelings about things, but at the end of the day, they just don't sweat the little stuff. They focus on the job that needs to be done. They ensure that everything within their power and their control is correct. But when something's going wrong, they're usually the person that's keeping their head. So yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I'm not going to say like go get some anger management or something, but Headspace, I'm not sponsored by them, but if they want to, it'd be great. I don't know. Just chill out a little bit more. Calm down. Just drifting. Oh yeah! All sanded down. So, for anybody who's here for the actual car part of it, I don't know why you would be, but the vast majority of this was sanded with 320. I had to hit some spots with 180. Those spots I do have to prime. Chatted with a body guy, friend of mine. He said you could paint over the 180, but you're gonna see everything. So I tried to basically sand back over the 180 with the 320. I don't think that's gonna do it. So there's a few spots that I'll end up priming. So spot there, and obviously all the rust and stuff I'll have to get primed, and a few other spots like down there. But yeah, pretty happy with that. My son did a lot of it, to be honest. And then just add some glazing putty onto that bumper because it had some cracks, and there's one of those like, hey, while I'm in here, front bumper, new trunk, which I need a wing for, and then grill, and that's actually a protege part because I'm gonna paint some of that, but getting real close. So I'm gonna do a little bit more sanding here, sand off the putty, and then I'll probably wash all of it and start to mask. Yay! All right. Oh man, sanding done, masking. Yeah, don't get too close because it's not very good. Oh man, super happy. I mean, it's definitely tough trying to do this all myself. I will say, like I said earlier, my son did give me a hand with it. You know what else is really tough to do by yourself? Your own media. There's no way that you can film yourself, especially on the drift track. Let me just get a different spot going here. See? Not too bad, but with that being said, media. All of the successful drivers have really, really good media. They spend money on it, they hire companies, or they bring on somebody personal. I understand it is not cheap, but it is far more expensive not to get some sort of sponsorship or partnership deal, and it's almost impossible to get one of those without some sort of media. So spend the money on it. I know I'm biased, I get it. I do, I came from media. That's how I got my start, but that's also how I know it's that important. So you just need to do it. You have to do it. Just like I have to finish getting all these preps. So I'll get a tack rag the whole thing down. I'm gonna degrease all of it, and then I actually have to go shoot a podcast in like an hour. So I'm not gonna end up shooting this until like 5 o'clock. But yeah, pretty happy with it. I'll have to move these back so there's not a bunch of overspray, but super happy. Also put down this giant 30 by 30 tarp, and I'm kind of an idiot because there's a tree right there. I could move it all the way over onto the grass, but having it really close to the shop is better, and it's just a drift car. So I mean, I also have something really cool that's going to happen with the roof that I'll have to talk about a bit later. But yeah, media. I'm going to do my podcast, and then when I get back, I'm going to prime this bad boy. I did want to talk about actually the gun that I'm using. So this is off of Amazon. This is one whole set here. So it comes with regulator, air separator, and it's a low pressure system. It's an R500 is what it's called. I can find the actual box for it, but yeah, it was like $70, and I watched a bunch of reviews on it. People seem to love it, so that's what I went with. And then I am going with black. Shocker, I know. Huge shout out to the guys at Single Supply, I think was the name of it. But they got me kind of everything I needed relatively cheap. Omni is the company that is the paint, as you can see here. So we've got slow top coat hardener for it, as well as a reducer. So, and then all of my filters, measuring cups, everything, they hooked me up with that. And then primer, I went with Finish 1, not the greatest stuff, but it is a 2K, which means that it does require a hardener to itself. So hopefully this is all correct. I think I did my homework right. But all that'll be getting mixed up, going through that gun. And yeah, this will all be getting primed down. I'll probably have to come back and clean up a few of these spots that still show a little bit of rust, tack rag it, and then yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Not gonna lie, this is like the most involved paint job I've done. All right, primer time. I actually laid some down already. Podcast went really well. It was with Jack Shanahan, if you want to try and line this stuff up. Yeah, anyways, this gun, awesome, love it, super easy, just take care of it, clean it out, all that fun stuff. I find that's the biggest issue. It's also one of the biggest issues with drivers. They don't take care of themselves. I think it's fine just to like party and eat like crap and not sleep and all that stuff. But I can tell you right now, you have to take care of yourself. Yeah, the drivers that do well, that's what they do. They get as much sleep as they can. They eat well. They generally take care of themselves. So if you're not doing that, you probably should start. And speaking of, I also need to take care of myself by putting on a proper mask. Oh, that is a top-heavy paint gun. I did not think this out. I still need to go clean something up. I did not think this out. All right, not bad. A couple spots, just got like a dust coat, if you will, that I will sand back tomorrow. Some wet sanding, 320. A few spots need a little bit thicker because of damage. Yeah, all said and done. Got 2 good coats on there. Trunk needed a fair bit, grill needed a fair bit, bumpers needed a fair bit, and the wing on the Protege. But yeah, pretty happy. So I'm gonna let all this sit overnight to cure. It's a little chilly tonight, a little humid tonight. So I want to do all that, make sure it gets a long cure time. And then tomorrow, I'll get up nice and early, piss off the neighbors, start the air compressor, and start sanding that back. And then we'll dry the whole thing down, we'll tack cloth it, and then finally paint. So also, I did not cover the wheels because I'm not planning on keeping those. I mean, I'll keep them, but like, I got another set coming. Anyways, we'll talk about that in a different video, but yeah, for right now, I just gotta clean up, and I will see you tomorrow with more tips. More than just a tip. All right, we are now back. Day 2. Primer turned out really good. Only downside was that tree did create a bit of an issue, so there's some stuff that fell into the primer. It was pretty much dry, so I'll send that back out. I am not looking for perfect here. I'm just looking for good, or good enough. So yeah, I did want to give you guys a bit of a breakdown on how much all of this costs, just to give you a rough idea, so you can kind of decide whether or not you want to do it yourself. Okay, we'll start with like air compressor. I bought a used air compressor. I actually have 2, so they're running. This doesn't work, but that fills that and that. Anyway, it's a long story. But $100 for a used air compressor. Paint gun, I believe, was $75. The actual paint to do it, so paint with reducer and hardener, was around $225. And then the primer was around $100. Various sanding discs. Extra cups, filters, all that stuff. I actually didn't need because single source supplied most of it. That all ended up being, let's say, another $150. So all things considered, really not that bad. That's like tape and plastic and all that stuff. It's a bit of a shit show here. I did already have the sander. I believe I bought that on Amazon for like $40, $50. And then your time going into it. So I did a pretty good job on budgeting this whole thing out, which makes it a little bit easier. I wasn't kind of shocked by anything. There could have been things that came up that could have screwed this. But that does bring me to my next point, which is budgeting. The most successful people in racing budget very, very well. They spend a lot of time coming up with that budget. They also add in a lot of like the miscellaneous things. So that way when there is an issue, they're not having to worry about it. It's just par for the course. It's part of the budget. I would say this is maybe the most important thing, is getting a good budget down. If you can, get somebody who is a financial planner or somebody who does budgeting well, find somebody who knows how to budget. But yeah, like understanding exactly what everything is going to cost, build a spreadsheet. It is much better to know at the beginning of the season that you're behind than to find out halfway through the season that you're behind. So please, if you want to be successful in racing of any kind, you want to be successful in life, just budget. Like saying, oh, I got it in my head, like don't worry, I got it all figured out. You don't. You really, really don't. Build a spreadsheet, build just a fucking piece of paper with your budget on it, something. Please just budget, because that is taking out more race car drivers than anything else. Yeah, but anyways, enough of me on my high horse. I now get to sand all over again. 320, I could do 400, I didn't get 400, I'm doing 320. Yell at me in the comments, I don't care. But compressor back on, and then more sanding. Oh, right, painting is done. It went okay. Did not go amazing. Let me show you. Okay, see from back here, see how great it looks, but as we get closer, I mean, you can see some of like the splotchy not blending, but you get in real close. I mean, it is Florida, so orange peel, does make sense. There's a few things I probably could have done different, but once I started, it was a nice run. Once I started, I was kind of locked into it. I might be able to like get this to kind of buff a little bit better, but yeah, ultimately there was a few things I was told that I tried to rush through, and it did not go as well as I would have hoped. And of course that takes me to my next point, which is that good drivers take advice and they listen and they act on it. And that's not just your spotter. That's not just, maybe a mechanic or something like that. That's like judges. That is even fans or spectators, because like, you gotta remember, a lot of spectators probably know more than you would expect. They watched a lot of drifting. They take advice from other drivers, they take advice from sponsors, they just take advice and they listen, and they're constantly listening, and they're not trying to defend their point all the time. If they have an idea, they might rebuttal back, but they're still listening to the response, and that's what helps them become amazing drivers. So if you get advice from somebody, don't just immediately dismiss it, take a minute, listen. I mean, Frederick Osbo, one of the greatest drifters of all time, is being coached by somebody you may not have even known about, living out of Sweden. So yeah, you have to take the advice, and you have to listen. Also, I got the barbecue going. I got ribs on the go. Maybe we'll take a quick peek at those. I don't know if you can even see anything. Oh yeah, getting there. Nice and mahogany. So yeah, now I gotta let that sit and cure, and maybe the orange peel will go away. I don't think it works that way. So, but it's nice and hot. It's in direct sunlight. I don't know if that's good, but should be all cured up by tomorrow, and then I can demask it and go from there. All right, it's actually been about a week, but the car is now painted. It is together. Yeah, it's been a long go. Things did not go amazing, but persevered and pretty happy with the results. So let's check them out. All right, so like I said, it has been a week, but this is what the car looks like now. So big improvement there. That is for sure. So if we get up close, you can see that there's still like dents, and the orange peeling just really didn't go away. Like I said, I could sand this down and cut it, and we might be better off, but all things considered, pretty happy with it. You can see a couple of the spots in here if we catch the light. Yeah, that's, like I said, it is what it is. I know this car is going to get beaten up if everything goes correctly. A couple other things I did were tinted off the headlights. They look a lot better with it, to be honest with you. And then wheels and tires. So went with these Koenigs. Super happy with the way these turned out. The black on black wheels looked good, but it was just a little too much for me. And then for tires, because I'm sure people want to know what my choice is, I actually went with the Kenda Vesda UHP Max up front. So 235, let me just make sure I get this right, 235, 40, 18. And then in the rear, another set of Kendas, the Vesda UHPs. So, you know, just different tread wear on these, 255, 35, 18. And yeah, pretty pumped. Yeah, I really think that the heliograms set things off. Like I said, it was with the other wheels, they were very stretched out. They're over here, very stretched out, just not really what I was kind of going for. But yeah, so super pumped. So if you have made it this far, hopefully you got a bit more information, some ideas about the things that I'm seeing when it comes to drivers, professional drivers and all that stuff, what they're doing different that you're maybe not. So hopefully this helps a little bit. If you like the car part of it, I'm trying to find a way to mix it up so it's not just me sitting there giving you a tutorial. Plus I got a lot of shit on the go, so this allows me to do both at the same time. If you have made it this far, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, whether it's the points or this idea for content. Any and all feedback is greatly appreciated, because you know, I want to be able to make more. So thanks again for watching. Catch everybody next time.